Hey, what's up, everybody? Trey Griggs here, Beta Consulting Group, and you are here for episode 101 of Standing Out, a daily podcast about sales, marketing, and leadership. Got a great show for you today. But man, I got to say thank you real quick to Charlie Safro for yesterday hosting episode 100. It was a tremendous show. Had a lot of people there. We gave away some swag. We had some great winners that are going to get some free Beta Consulting swag, some Standing Out swag. Just had an awesome time. So thank you, everybody, for making this possible. Thank you, Charlie, for hosting the show. And we're going to keep it going. We got episode 101 today with my good friend Randy Fox that we're going to bring on here shortly, which is going to be awesome. But before we do that, everybody, make sure you take time either during the show or after the show to check us out at betaconsultinggroup.com. See how we're helping companies tell their stories and create their brand through messaging, content creation, social media strategies, whatever it might be. Fill out a form, let us know you're interested, and we'd love to work with you, talk to you how we can help you tell your story out there as well. And while you're on the website, you might as well pick up some of that swag as well. So click on the banner at the top or any of the products on that first page and go to our swag store and pick up some merch. Be a part of our community of people who are pursuing excellence, and use the coupon code BETA-GO to get 30% off your entire order here in the month of July during our grand opening. We got coffee mugs, we got water bottles, t-shirts, all kinds of great stuff there. We'd love for you to check it out and be a part of our community and what we're doing here at Beta Consulting Group. So check that out at shop.betaconsultinggroup.com. Use coupon code BETA-GO to get 30% off of your entire order and be a part of our community. We would love that. Also want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, TAFs. These are the good guys in freight factoring. They're helping those drivers stay on the road, keep that freight moving. We love them, what they're doing for drivers. They're educating them, providing them all the resources that they need. So check them out at tafs.com or click on the link that Morgan's going to put in the comments to go directly to my landing page so they know that I sent you. This is for owner-operators, for carriers with small fleets, and freight brokers. Listen, you can become a referral partner as well. Make sure that your drivers have all the things that they need to keep those wheels turning, keep the freight moving. And lastly, I want to give a big shout out to my friend Mishak Weber. I'm here at his house today. This is his backyard. He gave me the chance to hang out last night. Came up to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Going to be going to the 3M Championship today with some friends. It's going to be a great time. So thank you, Mishak, for the hospitality and for the backyard here to do the show today. Appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead and get this show kicked off. I want to bring on to the show my good friend who I got to meet probably about 2 months ago at the TMSA conference. He was a keynote speaker, and we connected on the phone, and right away I knew this guy was special. We had a chance to play golf a little bit while we were in Orlando beforehand, and I got to introduce him onto the stage as a keynote speaker. We've been friends ever since. I read his book. We're going to talk about all that. So please welcome to the show my good friend, keynote speaker, Randy Fox. What's up, Randy? How are you, man?
Hey, it's good to see you. Good to see everybody.
Hey, good to see you too, man. And you were actually at the 100th episode yesterday. I saw your name pop up in the comments. You were there live with us yesterday.
I was there. We had to celebrate, and now we're going to kick off the next 100.
That's right. We got 100 more starting today, and I'm so glad that you're on the show today. For those who don't know anything about you, take a moment and just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, well, obviously the big passion is the keynote speaking. Been doing that almost a decade now, all around the country, helping leaders and teams pursue excellence. I've written 6 books on those subjects as well. And married, father of 3, really important, obviously, in my life. Now living in Central Florida, grew up in the Chicago suburbs. And kind of the fun fact, right? Spent almost 25 years as an NCAA women's basketball referee. And at the same time, spent almost 20 years in the corporate world and operations and sales and marketing. So just bring a variety of experiences, love being with people, excited to be here today and share some insights and inspire some people on their journey to excellence.
I don't think that I knew that you have 6 books. I've read 1, I've bought 2. You got 6 books? Man, I got a ways to go.
I do, but the best 2, the last 2 are the best 2. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, it gets a little better with time, right? It gets a little bit better. Now, you were an NCAA basketball official. I thought this was pretty hilarious. When we first met, Jennifer Carpus-Romaine, the executive director of the TMSA, our good friend, she said, hey, this guy was an NCAA official, a women's basketball official. And I was like, that's interesting because I've got a friend who's an NCAA women's basketball coach at Western Illinois, my friend JD Gravina. And I remember that first call was like, do you know JD Gravina? And you're like, I do know JD Gravina. And we had a good laugh about him tossing his coat and some of the sideline antics during the games and stuff like that. And I just knew from that moment on that we had a kinship there that was really special.
Yeah, I know. It's a reminder how small the world really is, right? We connect, and here's a really good friend of yours that I had obviously interacted with many, many times over the years. So, but great experiences, and just a reminder that it's all about the relationships and the people that we meet along the journey, not even so much what we do, but who we're doing it with and why we do it. So
Yeah, and 100%. And I wish that we would have met earlier, because then I could have given you some of the beef on JD. Not a lot of people have beef on him, but he actually fainted in my wedding. He was one of my groomsmen, and he was up on stage and he went down hard, and we give him a hard time about that. So you could have
oh,
you could have thrown that in while you're officiating, like, hey, listen, don't faint on me like you did in Trey's wedding. Make sure
that would have been good stuff.
Yeah, it would have been fun. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your journey into keynote speaking. I don't think too many people would look at the resume and say, "Man, how did this guy get into keynote speaking?" From the corporate world to officiating, women's basketball, and now delivering keynote addresses. Talk a little bit about that journey. Like, what was that like, and what led you to what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, most of my career in the corporate world was developing leaders. I spent most of my time in what we'll call management roles, right? In operations and sales and marketing. And my role was to get the best out of people and to work with them. Did a lot of events and even did some I'll call it corporate training. Always loved the opportunity to present, to speak, to motivate people. It was always something that was there. As I look back over my life, I can point out some very specific times from when I was as young as 8 years old, all the way into my teens and my 20s, where I can really see God having milestones in my life, where it was like, I'm preparing you you're going to be a speaker. I had a woman tell me that when I was 8 years old after one of our church services. And she said to my mom and looked at me, this young man someday is going to be a speaker. So it was like, it was always building. It was just a matter of when. And I think that's something that we all can take from our life, is that not everything happens immediately for a variety of reasons.
Well, isn't that the truth?
Yeah. So I'm in the corporate world, and I got to tell you what the big driver was, the big heart for me, right? Every speaker has something that they bring to the table. And the big one for me was that I felt that what I saw a lot in our world was leaders serving themselves. I saw greed. I saw power. I saw everything being driven to increase the bottom line. Now, don't get me wrong, the bottom line matters, but how we get there matters. And I really saw a lot of things that were frustrating me. And I felt that there was, a better way. And as a matter of fact, I picked up a book, and I wasn't a huge reader back, this is 15 years ago. But I did read Ken Blanchard from time to time, 1 Minute Manager,
yeah.
all these different things. And I ran into a book by Ken Blanchard called Lead Like Jesus. I picked it up. I started reading it. Halfway through the book, I was like, I got to contact this organization. And sure enough, they had a leadership seminar coming near my house within a couple of months. And so I called them, I registered for it, and they said, hey, do you want to stick around for an additional day? So, well, yeah, what's the additional day about? We're going to make you a certified facilitator of the program. And so I became a certified facilitator of this Ken Blanchard program, started doing it in my church, in my community, with my friends, but I really wanted to bring it to the world. And so I tried on multiple occasions. I rented out a room at a Holiday Inn. I did all kinds of marketing, and nobody would come. And it was like, are they not coming? Well, I really felt that I was called to do this. And so I talked to another friend of mine who had been in the corporate world, and he said to me, you need to write a book. And I said, wait, I want to be a speaker. And he said, no, you need to write a book for two reasons. You need to write a book so that everything inside of you starts to come out.
Yes.
You know what you're going to say. And secondly, just for having the credibility factor. And so I began that journey. It took me a couple of years, and the books just started kind of flying out. And now we're getting close to 9 years since I launched and left the corporate world. It was 9 years ago this summer. And it's been an amazing, amazing journey. And now all those life experiences, personally and professionally, just coming up to the stage and helping people as they're trying to navigate this crazy, crazy world. So that's kind of a little bit of that background and what brought me there.
Well, you do a phenomenal job. The energy is so good. The content was great. The stories you tell. I don't want to give all of it away for people, who haven't heard your some of your speeches. But if you get a chance to hear Randy Fox speak, you definitely need to make sure you show up and be there for that. I want to go back to something you said earlier. So you said that you did all this. You really felt like you're called to, like, this is your thing. You do all the work to do it, and nobody shows up. That had to be a little discouraging. But I think it's interesting when you really feel called to something or feel passionate about something, or whatever those words you might want to use, committed to something. Those bumps in the road are not as discouraging as when you're not really called or committed or passionate about something. What was that journey like? I mean, it had to be disappointing, but instead of stopping speaking, you just tried to figure out what the problem was, and go that direction. Talk about your commitment to speaking and how that impacted those valleys, as we would call it, those disappointments.
Yeah, it certainly was disappointing, right? And I still had a job at the time, but it was certainly disappointing that nobody showed up. And I tried multiple times, and the second time I tried it, I did things differently than the first time. And I tried to get a partner that was connected, right? I kept, doing what most great leaders do, right? You change, you adapt, you learn, and it was really interesting because it was like, what am I doing, right? And I was getting more and more frustrated in my regular job and really believed that I need to go out there and do this. And sure enough, right, I get an opportunity to do just a small presentation, like 5 minutes at a small event. And I finished my 5 minutes, and more than one person comes up to me and was like, oh my, right? I've been running a basketball camp for over 12 years with a couple of other people, and it's a camp for referees. And we started this before I was a professional speaker.
Okay, wait a minute though. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, as a camp for referees, are there basketball players there playing? How do you have a camp for referees? There's got to be.
There's players playing all
Okay.
summer long, right? They're being recruited by colleges, right?
I'm imagining this court full of referees, no players.
So no, there's players there, and then we were the referees, and we're training and development. And so where I'm going with this is that right in that same time that I don't get anybody to show up for my I'm trying to do this leadership conference. I then go and have my basketball camp for the referees. And before we kicked off the camp, I did about a 10-minute little motivational rah-rah just before we left to go on the court. And one person walked up to me that had known me a long time and said, I had no idea. He goes, you had me on the edge of my seat. And another person who I met literally in that moment walked up to me and said, so I checked you out a little bit, and I'd love to have you come speak at my company. What would you charge me? And it was just like this moment of recognizing that it doesn't matter how many times I fail, right? I know that I'm supposed to do this, and I've got to just go do the next right thing. And what's really kind of crazy about, so this, the business launches, right? That customer, I'm going back to him next month for the 9th time in the last decade. And so I think it's just really a reminder for us when we have these valleys, like, we can choose how we approach it. And we may not be able to choose what happened to us, but we can choose our attitude. We can choose our actions of what we do beyond that. And my wife was incredibly supportive, and she just was like, no, you're supposed to do this. Like, I know you're going to be amazing at this, and I support you. And so it was just like, we couldn't believe, the negative naysayers. And if I could toss out another example, I had a family member, we were at a family reunion, and I told them that I was working on writing a book and I was going to become a speaker. And a bunch of people in the family are all excited. And this one guy says to me, so what are you writing about? And I said, leadership. I think that we can be better leaders. We can be better servant leaders in our world, and actually even more effective than if we just focus on things. And he just looked at me and said, yeah, exactly what the world needs. Another leadership book and another speaker. And it fueled me, right? But it fired me up, right? There's naysayers in our lives. There's people that come at us and tell us, you can't do that, or I don't need that, or you won't be good enough. And I literally just had to choose to ignore that noise and continue going forward.
Yeah, but isn't it great when you get those few people that confirm? Like God gives you those confirmations when you
Yep.
do something, and people come up, and it's like when there's more than one person that comes up about something. To me, that's like God saying, "You need to like you're good at this. Keep doing this. Like this is you need to keep going that direction." I've had a few of those moments in my life where the first time somebody comes up and compliments you, it's like that's nice. I appreciate that. But when five or six people do it, that's when you got to take notice and go, okay, maybe this is my thing. Maybe this is where I need to devote my energy and my effort because this is a skill that I have and it's something I'm passionate about. And so it's just nice when you get those confirmations. And you wouldn't have gotten those if you hadn't done that, if you hadn't had that little rah rah speech ahead of time or that really small, insignificant, we call it insignificant opportunity to speak. You wouldn't have gotten those confirmations had you not stepped
Yeah,
into those and done it. I love that.
that's right.
Yeah, so good. All right, so we had a chance to play a little golf when we were in Orlando. Had a good time down there. I think at Falcons Fire in Orlando, a great little course down there. Had a good time. One thing that we talked about was the officiating side of things and what you still do a little bit of work with that. How did you get into officiating? What was the passion behind that part of your life?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I really didn't want to have a job that was like the normal go to the restaurant or work at a retail place or whatever. I started umpiring baseball when I was 14 because I played baseball growing up. I loved it. I thought, and I just had so much fun with it. And got to college and met another guy that loved sports. And we were both basketball fans. And I had played a little bit in high school. And we were like, let's be referees. And let's be quite honest, I was doing it for beer money. It was like what a great way to go
You
out
know,
and some
okay,
extra.
Randy, I have to stop you for a minute. There's not too many people that look at the job of a referee and go, "That's it. That's what I want to do." I mean, the only time that people think you do well is when you're not noticed,
Yeah,
and if you mess up a game, everybody hates. I mean, like that's not something that people typically choose, but maybe for beer money, it doesn't matter.
yeah. Well, and I think there was just kind of always something in me that I enjoyed the pressure of making an important decision. And I think that's where had a successful career in the corporate world. And I think it helps me with speaking is that I've not shied away, even when I was young, from making decisions that were important to help other people, right? Because that's what a referee does, right? You're out there to help make the game better. And I grew up, my dad was a coach. I literally, from as young as I can remember, I was in locker rooms and sitting behind benches and watching these high school athletes play. I love the idea of the team. I love the integrity of games, and being a referee allows you to help ensure that happens. And so it was just a ton of fun. And but the passion grew very, very quickly. I got what we call the bug in the business. Made some great friends and had a desire to get to the collegiate level pretty quickly. And I got there pretty quickly. So it was was a great run and, met a tremendous people along the way.
Well, that whole community, that whole network, absolutely. Now, I have to ask you this though. I'm a former college basketball player myself, and I've had my share of bad calls come my way. What's it really like in the mind of an official when you know you've blown a call? I mean, it happens, right? I mean, you're not going to get them all
It
right.
does.
What's
Yeah.
that like when I missed that one? Do you admit it? Do you act tough? Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah. It doesn't happen very often that on the court that you really missed that one. There's some that, I may have to take a look at that. But I remember a few moments. I remember one in particular with a referee or a coach situation where I came over to report the foul, and I already knew this was an awful call, right? And unlike the NFL where they just wave the flag and say we're picking it up, like in basketball, you blow your whistle, that's it.
Yeah,
You're
that's
reporting
right.
something. And I just knew it. And I knew it was bad. Like I knew it was a phantom. And it was a Division I game. This coach was pretty intense. And he comes down the sideline at me. And he is like, you need to look up at that replay. You need to look at that replay. I mean, he is all over me. And I literally just turned and said, I don't want to. And he patted me on the back and walked away. I mean, hey, my bad, right? My bad.
Yeah.
I wish they could all be good. That one wasn't. You can't get away with that very often. But honestly, I think when we make a mistake, we got to own our mistake. Now you can't have 20 mistakes a day, but if you're working your butt off and you've got a reputation for being somebody that's got great talent, great work ethic, and communication skills. I don't care what the business is. It's no different in officiating than anything else. When I made a mistake and it was a legitimate, I knew it, I apologized and said, you know what? I can be better than that. You deserve better than that. And we're going to move on from here. And it was never met from a coach with anything but thank you.
Yeah. I think that's a lesson in life. When you're, honest about just yourself in general, you're just an honest person. I think that people respect that, even if they maybe aren't happy about what happened, like in that situation, or it happens in business where something goes wrong, it doesn't get done. But when you take ownership of it and you're just honest about it, and you're not trying to defend. I know a lot of umpires, a lot of officials and referees, they'll try to defend a bad call sometimes, or defend themselves instead of just being, reasonable. I always liked as a player the officials that were willing to talk to the players and help us out along the way. Maybe mention something they see us doing that we could do better. Like, I always love those officials, like you said, trying to make the game better, trying to make the players better. It's an interesting career, no doubt about it.
It is.
Choice, that's for
it
sure.
is. And real quick, I like what you just said. I think we spend too much time trying to defend ourselves instead of listening to what somebody else has to say, learning from the moment, apologizing, whatever it is. We want to just defend to protect. And that's exactly why I became a speaker, because it's like, stop trying to protect yourself and just start serving where you can to be the best that you can. And when we get so prideful that we are fearful to admit that we make a mistake, we have no effectiveness or influence from that point forward.
Yeah, you just lose trust. You lose the trust of the person. You lose credibility and somebody that they want to follow. People just kind of they can detect BS. They don't want to follow. You probably have a lot of good stories that come from your basketball days. I know you use a lot of business analogies whenever you're speaking, but there's probably plenty of good material there from the officiating days as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some really funny ones and some high pressure ones as well. We probably don't have time to tell them all today, but yeah. If they want to see me on stage, I always make sure I weave in one or two.
Yeah. So before we get to the end, I don't want to miss this. What's the best way for people to learn more about what you're doing and to connect with you?
Yeah, my website is foxpoint.net. So FOXPOINT.net. And they can check out everything there. There's books, videos, testimonials. My website is foxpoint.net. My email is randy@foxpoint.net. So feel free to shoot me an email, go on the website. I'd love to connect and help people in any way, whether it's individually or with a team at an event.
No, I just that's awesome. And your books are for sale online too, I think. Is that right? Can they get them online?
They are. They can actually buy them. If they buy them on my website, I actually sign them and ship them from my home office.
I know, and I have some signed books from you, so I appreciate that. In fact, I just finished, probably a week and a half ago, I just finished A Leader Worth Following, which I really enjoyed. I thought that was a great book. It was an easy read. Your writing is a lot like your speaking, so it's just easy to get through and to read. But what was the kind of onus behind that, writing that book? Because I think that, when we think about leadership, we obviously need to be somebody that people want to follow, that people, want to be a part of what we're doing. What was the onus behind writing that book?
Yeah, I mean, it has a lot in it and dedicated to my grandfather. He was probably one of the biggest influencers in my life. And I really just was thinking a lot about what kind of person, to your point, do people want to follow, and to really unpack some truths and some learnings and some stories of what that looks like. And I think what's really important to say is that it has nothing to do with your title. It has everything to do with your behavior, words, and actions. And so anybody can be a leader worth following. And I really wanted to get that message out there, because what I notice a lot when I speak is that people don't really think that they're the leader because they don't have some title or they don't have some background or some money. And I really wanted to speak to the everyday majority of our world, which is, no, you are the leader the world's waiting for. And here's just some simple things. And like you said, I write at like a 7th grade level because I'm just not that smart. So at the end of the day, I want to make it easy for people to go, I can do this, right? I can be that kind of leader.
Yeah, right where they are, no matter where they are, no matter what title they have, to start taking those actions, those attitudes, those behaviors that make a difference, that not only make the organization better, and whether or not people follow you right away, that's not the point, but making your organization better and doing things that make you somebody that people want to follow, a leader worth following. I love that book. I love the way you write. I enjoyed reading that one. I'm on to the next one, which I haven't started yet, but I will. I'm currently reading a book called Doing Business by the Good Book, which is a really fascinating book. You'd probably like that. It's by David Stewart, who is the CEO of Worldwide Technologies, and it's 52 lessons on business from the Bible. It's a really great book.
Nice.
So I'm working through that one right now, but then yours is going to be the next one I pick up, which will be fun. I want to end on something real quick. We got about 5 minutes left. You have had some really challenging moments in your life.
Yeah.
One of those being the loss of your first wife to cancer, which I know you talk about whenever you're speaking and what you learned from that. Life is not always rosy. It's not always the way that we planned it when we started out. It throws us curveballs. It makes it difficult. What are some of the things that you've learned through that experience that really impact the message that you have for others?
Yeah, I think the first is that, to your point, everybody's going to have suffering of some kind. It may not be the same story as mine or yours, but we all have that. We all have moments where we hear something from the doctor, or we get the pink slip from the boss, or the big setback, or the betrayal by a family member, whatever that is. If I learned anything through the process, the first would be that my first wife just had so much dignity and grace and strength. She didn't complain. And I think it's easy to say, but when you know you're dying and she just kept living, it was a great reminder of what we need to do first and foremost is just breathe and live in the moment, because we don't know how many more we have, and the complaining does nothing. I certainly knew then, but it was reinforced more through and then even after her passing, with how my life changed and my perspective changed, that without God, nothing really sticks, but with God, all things are possible. And standing on a faith and a truth is so critical. It not only helped get me through, but it changed my life. And that can be a story for another time. The testimonial that came out of her passing, my faith has just really strengthened. God has transformed me, because I talk about this type of leader that's not self-serving, that is serving others, because I'm telling you, before my wife had cancer, I was that leader. I was the corporate self-centered leader. I didn't spend enough time with my family. I was chasing the money. And through that process, God changed my life. And obviously having family and friends around you are critical. And we can't just be takers. So as people are hurting and navigating these tough seasons in their own life, we need to be those same people for them. We can't just be waiting for people to show up for us when we hurt. And it's a reminder that our world is really much closer and smaller and similar, because we all face death at some point. And so
one thing we all get out of, no one gets out alive. We're all guaranteed.
That's right. We all end the same way, dead. And so let's live together and not be so divided. And so I think those are the big highlights for me out of a really transformational, hard experience that has really helped me, I think, help others.
Yeah, no, that's such wise counsel, and the experience that you went through. We had the opportunity to work with an ALS organization in St. Louis that works with ALS patients who, in the same way, they know they're going to die. It's just a matter of time. And to see them with so much hope and joy in the midst of knowing something we all know is true, but it's inevitable for them, and like they kind of have the timeline. It speaks volumes to how we should wake up every day thankful for the day we have, investing in the things that matter, the people that matter. I mean, when I die, the people that I work with, as much as I love them, they're probably not going to be there when I die. My wife's going to be there. My kids are going to be there. How am I investing in them? How am I taking care of what matters most? Such a wise word, Randy. And I really appreciate you being on the show. Appreciate your friendship. Can't wait to work more events with you. We got an event coming up that we get to work.
Yeah, we'll be together in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. I know. I'm excited about that. It's just good to know you and good to have you on the show. Thank you for sharing your story and being a part of what we're doing today. I hope you'll come back and see us soon. Tell us more stories.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody who's watching, thanks so much again. This is episode 101. Make sure you visit Randy at foxpoint.net. Learn more about him. Book him to speak at your event. Pick up his books. They're awesome. And make sure you also come back tomorrow. It's Friday. It's Finish Strong Friday around here. And we're going to have episode 102 with my good friend Nadine Nocero-Tai of Think Show. She's going to be on the show. She's so smart, So awesome. Great marketer. Can't wait to have her on the show. And just appreciate you guys for what you're doing. Shout out to our sponsor, Taps. And again, Randy, thanks so much for being on the show, man. We'll see you guys later. Have a great Thursday, everyone. Take care.